Hi there, this is Thomas Ellenberg coming to you from beautiful Waikiki, Honolulu, Hawaii. It is February 17th, 2008, and first of all, I would like to praise and acknowledge the courageous reporting of Lou Dobbs on CNN. I am constantly amazed at his spunk and his willingness to go out on a limb, as Shirley MacLaine used to say, and really tell it like it is to what appears to be the sleeping masses. I am constantly uh, uh, inspired to think about his question when he always says at the end of many of those reports that he gives about the North American alliance and the lack of port security and the immigration fiasco and the way that America is selling out on every level the middle class and exporting jobs and all of the topics that Lou covers, which are so extremely important if we're going to save America as a sovereign nation and keep America the beautiful home of the brave and that mythology alive, what's left of it. If we're going to do it, we have to be able to think clearly and think freely. And Lou Dobbs always is like scratching his head. I love the way you do that, Lou. And you say, oh, how could this government be so ignorant? How could they do one more, even more ignorant thing? How could all these ignorant, stupid people work for the government? How could they keep passing one stupid act after another? And why doesn't anybody do anything? And actually, Lou, and if there's anyone here with networking fingers in the internet or whatever that can get this message to Lou, or to Wolf Blitzer, or to Jack Cafferty, those three guys are so courageous. I don't know how they get away with it, but hallelujah, and thank you, CNN, for giving them freedom of speech and allowing us to hear men who are speaking freely. Anyway, if there's any way anybody can help me get my message to Lou or Jack or Wolf, in fact, I've been compared to Wolf by some of my educational coworkers. I really would appreciate it because I think I have the answer. At least I have part of the answer. And the answer is that we live in a country where we have been educated for at least 12 years, most of us for longer than 12 years through the college and university system, in which we have been trained very, very powerfully in how not to think critically, how not to think freely, and how not to think out of the box, but instead to conform to the norm, to think the way we're told to think, and to not be, as the Japanese say, the one nail that sticks up higher than the others, because one of the subliminal teachings that has come down since the 60s and all the assassinations of JFK, Bobby, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the four students at Kent State, Anwar Sadat, Gandhi, we've come from a 50, 60, 70 year historical cycle in which we have seen that the visionaries, the real idealists that want to bring a multidimensional, metaphysical, mystical, ethical, I would say profoundly ethical view of how to run the world, how to actually civilize the world in an ethical way and organize the world in a way that all people benefit equally, and that's a very important word, and experience freedom of expression and economic opportunity all around the world. As long as we have an educational system that dumbs are doing. Most of our leaders have been bought and sold by the corporate interests, as Lou and Jack and some of you guys keep reminding us. Anyway, as a teacher of 37 years plus, entity to suck out his energies and so it can survive irregardless of his well-being. He is in fact hypnotized to think that he's fine, that he's just fine, just like our masses have been hypnotized to think that Walmart is the new cathedral in the sky. If they can just get to Walmart, just get to the mall, everything is going to be just fine. Caesar put it well when he said bread and circuses will pacify the masses, and that's what America is being given right now, is bread and circuses instead of truth. So anyway, I taught school starting in the Peace Corps and Teacher Corps, taught every grade from kindergarten through 8th grade in the San Francisco public school system, a very liberal school system in which I was allowed to, once I began to wake up in the system like Neo, I was allowed to try some very, very out of the box educational approaches. And I would very much like to get on your shows, guys, and talk about, first of all, what I discovered, and then some of the solutions that I offer. My book is called Uncle Tom's Classroom: How One Public School Teacher Awakened His Students to the Cosmic Super Self Within. Let me begin by mentioning the title, Uncle Tom's Classroom. It is, of course, a metaphor for the fact that we live in a society that is treating us to be good, little, compliant, consumeristic Uncle Toms. We've been trained to do that. No offense to the black community. In fact, I learned the idea of what it's like to be an Uncle Tom directly from Martin Luther King. I met Martin Luther King Jr. in the 60s during the bus sit-in when he was getting those students of us up in the north to ride the buses into the south during the early sit-ins, and I realized that most of my contemporaries were already becoming good little Uncle Toms. They weren't going to do anything that was going to question the paradigm or question the status quo or put them in danger. And so, in fact, all of America has become kind of like an Uncle Tom's classroom. And so what I did in my class, and I see that I'm going to run out of time, and so what I'll do is I will continue this on another video called Uncle Tom's Classroom 1 on my YouTube channel, Bergland 1944, in which I talk in more detail about what I did in my classroom. I call myself an Uncle Tom myself because I realized during the 70s, especially after the assassinations of Milka Mosconi in San Francisco, that the system was absolutely powerless and bereft to help children deal with violence like Jonestown and the violence of the Zodiac killings. And there needed to be some kind of ethical, even some kind of a spiritual component brought into the system, which is when I began to ask my inner guidance and the guidance from above for ideas as to how to bring that component in. And all of a sudden I began to think that if I could bring in the idea of that each child had a cosmic super self within them, their own potential superhero, their own potential Superman or Superwoman, their self-actualized, highest, most multidimensional self, if I could help my children get in touch with that again, that we'd be on our way to true education. For education, as they said in ancient Greece, is to draw out the super genius from within. Whereas in America today, our educational system has used fear to squish out the best of our youth and turn them into Walmart masses. I will continue this on my channel in a few moments. Uncle Tom's Classroom.